Hello guys. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do a similar wrap to this. This one has some amethyst in the bottom and a little Pachymer quartz crystal in the top. I think we'll do one with an amethyst heart on the bottom like this, and then also a little piece of pyrite for the demonstration. I had made up ahead of time a little side little addition to add in like this with a leaf. That I cut out by hand and used a file and just made the little leaf and then soldered it to an individual wire. So let's get started. Alright, so we're going to be making a piece like this. We're going to use this amethyst chevron cab. And we're going to put a little accent pyrite on top. So we'll start off with around 18-inch length wire. We've got 5 of them here. And we'll be placing them in our ring clamps. These are very handy when wire wrapping. It just simply has a wedge in there that you can take out. It opens up. I've got the wires just about down to where the metal binder for the ring clamp is. And ideally you just want them right next to each other as close as you can get when you clamp it down. So these are 20 gauge square half hard wire. This comes from riogrande.com, and that is 20 gauge square half hard wire. That's what I used for the little leaf here as well, as some 20 gauge square half hard. We will also be using some gallery wire in this wrap. This I got at Rio Grande as well. You can get a couple different types. I like this little crowned one. We're going to use that for this project. And then I also got some copper beads. We've got 2mm copper beads and 3mm solid copper beads. We'll use a little bit of 28 gauge round wire, possibly in the wrap, and we'll also use a little bit of 20 gauge soft wire from Grand Rio to put the beads on. So first off, we're going to take some 20 gauge half round wire. This, let's see if we can zoom in where you can see, has a rounded side and then a flat side. You can really see the reflection is quite different from the flat side to the rounded side. That's an easy way to know which side you're working with. So we're going to want to take the half round, and we're going to want to put the flat side down on the ring clamp, like so. Oops. So I put the flat side down, and I will just go around, leading the flat edge around the wire here. And once we get it started, we can just rotate the ring clamp. And we're going to be basically making the very bottom of this wrap here, so we're going to want to do quite a few times around. Looks like we've got about 9 on each side, so about 18 times around. And you just want to make sure the wires don't cross, and we keep them flat and spread apart. And I just slowly push it down as I go with each one, just keeping it towards the bottom here. And I'll just hold the wire flat and I'll spin the ring clamp around. And I'll use the nylon pliers here just to flatten it out just a little bit. Flatten these wires so they don't start crossing there. And we just keep a good tension on the wire. Not pulling too tight because then it'll pull them where they cross over, and we don't want that. And we're pretty close to where we want to be. Maybe just a couple more times around. And we'll go ahead and count. We want an even number, so let's see. We are at 5, 10, 15, and one more time around. So we're going to want to turn this to the back here. We're going to land both of these on one side and cut them in the middle, and that'll be our inside edge so that you're not having the wire sticking out on the wrap. We'll be sure to put these on the inside edge there. So we'll cut it so it lands just about center. There you can see it goes just about halfway to the middle there. And we can take our piece out of the ring clamp, so we'll remove the wedge, open it up, and now the bottom we're going to land on the same side, so we'll roll that over there, roll it over, and then we'll lift it back up. We'll go ahead and cut that so that lands about in the middle there, just like the top one. And that will be our inside edge. So we can use the nylon ones to push it down, a needle nose, or a little square-ended pliers like this. We'll just press that end down in. Alright, so now we've got them both cut and on the same side. And we can square things up just a little bit. We'll push it together just a teeny bit with the pliers there. Now we're going to flatten it out just a little bit more. Alright, so you don't want to push them too hard because then it's hard to slide it, and we have to slide it down a little ways because we want it in the very middle of our wire here. All right, so we slide it to about the middle there is what we want to do. Take our ring clamp off. Got it pretty close to center. Ideally, we don't really want to flatten it until we move it to middle, otherwise sometimes it's hard to move. So now we'll flatten it out a little bit. Got one that's just sticking down just a little bit further than the other. We'll use the square-ended pliers. Just kind of even those up a little bit. It's looking pretty good. Just going to measure that we're about center here. We've got that. A little further over probably. Alright, we should be really close to center. I usually just use a tool to measure and see how much about is on each end. And just try to get it right around center there. We'll go just a bit further. And then we're going to use the square-ended pliers to bend this center section. We'll go right about just to the side of center. And we'll bend it like so. And if you're off just a little bit, you can always just undo one here. It looks like this side's just a teeny bit higher, so we're just going to undo one side and shorten it one length. So I've got a little teeny pick here. One of these comes in quite handy. You could use a lot of different tools to do a very similar type job. So we're just going to undo that a little bit, lift it up, and then we'll snip it and push it back down. Use the square-ended, smaller, this is a 2mm, 3mm square-ended pliers. The smaller size comes in handy. I've got a couple different sizes I really like. And we're going to just flatten these out a little bit and square them up. The nylon one is really nice because it doesn't tool stuff up so much. So we'll use that as well. Alright, so next we are going to take our cab and we are going to fit it with some of this gallery wire. I'm going to start it right in the top here, as I think, let's see, where do we want the seam to be? We'll do the seam along the side here. It will be the less obvious spot as we wrap the stuff around. So let's start like so. We'll put it right about middle on the side here, and we will bend it around. And there we have it. So now we'll cut it off there. And you can always mark it with a marker. I'm just going to eye it up, but if you want to mark with a marker on the inside edge here, you can mark right inside the inside edge here to get it just right. I always just give myself a little bit more, and then we can cut her down to fit it. Okay, got it really close. So now we're going to take and bend each one of these prongs down individually. We're going to use a needle nose pliers for that. Needle nose seems to be the best. And we will just take each individual little crown there and bend them down in. Okay, so we fit it in there, make sure it looks right. Now we're going to bend these back 2 wires on each side in for the backing. We will use the square-ended pliers for that. And we want this one to come in just a little bit. We want it to come in just a little ways, like so. I'll probably go even a little more than I had on that one, just to hold it really well. So we'll grab just the one wire, and I'm going to brace it on the top with my thumb, and I'm holding my finger on the bottom here, and we'll just bend that one in, twisting my hand towards me. So we've got a nice little bend in like so. We'll do it on the other side here. So we'll grab just the outer wire and we'll support it on the top and hold it on the bottom here, and we'll just slide it down. So now we've got 2 prongs bent to the center there. And that will hold it in place rather well. So now we'll do the front ones. Bend these 2 in here. And I think we will do the same size. Or maybe we'll do a little bit smaller one here. we'll do the little square-ended one. So we'll hold those on the top again and brace the bottom and grab just the one wire. We'll bend that up and in, and we'll do the one on the opposite side here. Grab just the one wire, bend it up and in. Now I'm going to want to bend these forward a little bit and the back ones back just a little bit so the cab will still slide into there. So we're going to bend them up and back. Back one's back, front one's up, and we'll slide our cab into there, like so. Okay, so now we want to take and squeeze together. We're going to grab these middle 3 wires on the side. So we've got 3 wires. We're going to bend those down. I'm going to make sure they're separated here. Kind of got a little twisted there when I made this bottom part. They did twist together just a little bit. I had a little too much tension, but we can just get them apart here. So we've got the 3 wires there. We're going to bend it up to the middle here. And we will grab it with the square-ended pliers up a little ways, and we will bend it in. We don't have to go totally to it because we're going to leave a little bit of a gap there. But we want to go close to center here, like so. And now we'll do the other side. This side is not twisted. We've got just the 3 wires there. So we'll go up a little ways. We're just going to bend over and in. And the top wires, we're going to just kind of work with our finger. We'll put our thumb against it here and wrap just around the outer edge there, and then come up to the center and give it a little bend. Just kind of contouring that gallery wire around the edge. And we'll do the same with this one. This is probably the most tricky part of the whole wrap here, is just finessing these to where we want them to be. And I'll use my fingernail a little bit sometimes. And we'll try to uncross these here. They got a little bit crossed over. So we'll just straighten them out here so they're not over the top of each other. There, we've got them lined up nice. And the ones in the back can stay towards the center a little bit because we're going to be tying in some other wires there, so where we don't want them to the edge, because then you would see that. So we've got those a little more center. And I'm going to just center it all a little bit by bending this back and forth just a little bit. It's looking really good. We're going to push it down in just a little bit more. So this is down a little bit further. And we're going to use the nylon pliers here and just do a little squeezing of that together. here's another time where I'll use the wedge or the ring clamp. You can just push it in just a little bit there. Kind of fill that gap just a little bit more. Just closing it in a little bit. Okay, it's looking really good. So we'll just make sure our wires are not crossed over on both sides. They look good. And we'll hold these nice and tight together on the end here, and we'll tie these together now. So we'll use 20 gauge square for this. Let me just cut a little section here. About a 6-inch section makes it easy. Probably don't need quite that much, but sometimes it's nice to have a little more. I'll take this wire and align it up with the wires in my hand, like so. I'll bend it at a 90 degree here. And we can be up a little ways because we can slide it down. We're just going to roll it around. Usually about 5 times is a nice amount of a spacer there. And we'll just slide it down into place. We can use our nylon pliers to slide it down a little more. Just kind of wedging it down. We can cut our ends off. When I cut these ends off, though, I want them kind of facing backwards instead of facing forward. So this will be the front of our piece. We want to cut it about halfway in the middle, facing backwards. So we pull it down, and then we lift it back up just a little bit to cut it. Like so. And we'll just use the square-ended pliers and we'll push that down. And we'll do the same to the other side here. Just push it down and then lift it up a little bit. Cut it so it's about halfway in the middle. And then we'll use the square-ended pliers and push that down. Okay, so we've got her nice and squared off there. This side wire we're going to just push down with our fingers to the side. It wanted to come around the front a little bit. So we'll just kind of line those up exactly where we want them now. Getting the 3 wires on the side. 1 wire in the front on each one. And then the 2 in the back here. So that looks really good. We're going to squeeze those top wires in just a little bit more. And we'll straighten the whole thing out. Just kind of wedge it over a little bit. Okay. Happy with that. So our next step here, we are going to take one of the wires and put it to the side and tie it to the back here. We're going to use 2 of the wires and loop them across the front here. We want to do that first, but we want to take the front 3 wires and pull them forward. So we're going to do that first. We'll take those 3, 2, and 3. Just the closest 3 to the front. That will hold our small stone in the top. We will grab the next wire on the side and we'll pull that all the way to the side. So on the right side here, we're going to pull that one off to the side. We will secure our little stone in there and then do our top, and then we will do this bottom part. You could do it in any order. You could do this bottom part and then continue up. It's kind of up to you at this point which order you'd like to do. So we've got those. We're going to grab the next two on this side. On the left side here, we're going to pull two down. And I think we're just going to do this bottom section first. That way we'll get them out of the way. So we want to do a nice curve, this bottom wire here below these beads. We want to take that and curve it just in front of the cab. We want to keep it towards the top so we're not covering up too much of the cab. We'll place our thumb in the middle here and kind of just roll around our thumb. See how it kind of just went along the edge of my thumb there? We got a really nice curve by doing that. And we will go down and around the back. So we can tie this one in. This back wire we're going to lift up just a little bit so we can tuck that one underneath it. So we'll go ahead and use this little needle-ended one to pry it up. And we're going to cut that off. We don't need quite that much to tie it in. We want to go around about 3 times. We'll leave ourselves about an inch or so. And now we're going to use the needle nose pliers. And I think I'm going to actually cut off a little more. Really probably only need about 3/4 to 1/2 inch. So we're going to bend that little end up just a teeny bit. So we got a little bend up on it. We're going to go over, back up, bend it up just a little bit to get it where we want. And we'll go underneath. So bending it up will allow us to just grab it a little easier. And we'll make sure it's where we want it to be since we had to lift it up just a little bit. And I think we could go down just a little bit more. Right about there looks good for the loop. So we'll go up and over. I'm going to cut off a little more here. Really, I think this will be all we'll need. A little more than 1/2 inch here. So we're going to just roll that, kind of make a circle with it, and we'll grab up just a little higher on it and weave it underneath. I'm just grabbing on the other side, pushing that top part. Then I'm going to grab the very end, roll it underneath. I'm going to grab from both sides now and just kind of push that top end in. And ideally, we want it to rotate and end facing the stone so it's not sticking out the back. I think we're going to cut just a little more off. Usually I just try to judge it as best I can so it'll roll underneath. Here we're just going to cut a little more off there. So let's straighten it out just a teeny bit so we can get at it. And we'll just cut that little end off. And that should work really good. And we can take and push those together a little bit. So we've got one of those wrapped around. Now do it like this. We're going to rotate. We're going to use this top side one instead of that back one for the next one. So we're going to put the beads in between these. So we'll have a little gap there. So we want to just make and follow that curve of that first wire. We'll put our thumb in there, like so. That looks pretty close to where we want to be. And we're going to cut it off where we only have, we're going to just do about a 1/2 inch. I think that's all we'll really need there. So we're going to lift it up. We're going to bend that little tip of it up. We're going to grab our needle nose pliers and then feed it through there. And we can kind of, we can use this to pry it apart a little bit to give ourselves a little more space to feed that through. Okay, we've got it through. We'll make sure our front looks good before we go any further. Okay, got just about where we want it. We'll tie that second one in the back then. So we've got our wire sticking up there. We're going to use our needle nose and we're going to roll it around like we did that first one. We can raise that up even a little more to give ourselves room to get that underneath. And we're just going to finesse that underneath and roll it back around. My apologies if it gets a little out of focus here. But really you want it 2 to 3 times rolled around. We've got it tucked around twice now. And that'll work really good. If they're all nice and snug, we'll push them together a little bit. So we've got those 2 tucked in. Now we're going to want to take this other side here. We're going to straighten out our bail there a little bit. It got a little turned. So I'm just bending it a little bit back that way to center. We're going to straighten it just a teeny bit as well. Looking good. Okay, so now we're going to take got 3 wires to the front. We're going to take the side wire and do a little bit of curly cues there, like we have here. Simply bend it around with my fingers like so. And we'll push it together a little bit with the flat one. So we've got a little loop in there. We'll do 2 the same way and then we'll do 1 the other way is what we did on this one. We'll kind of try to keep with what we did there. So roll it around. And it's a good idea if you've never done that before, just practice with a spare piece to see how it plays rolling those around. We've got two really nice loops there though, and we'll do one going the other way now, so we'll go the opposite direction. Just taking my thumb, rolling it into it, and voila. And we'll use the pliers to kind of straighten it out all a little bit. That looks really good. And we'll just take and roll that to the back like we did the other two and tuck this one in. I'll push that down a little bit with my finger there. Okay, so we'll give ourselves just a little bit more on this one, like so. Lift it up. Just a slight little bend on the end here helps it go underneath. Shove it underneath with the needle nose. Make sure it looks good in the front here. Okay, and we will roll that around now. I am going to lift up this wire just a little bit. It got pushed down. We're going to use the needle nose and we're going to just start to roll it into a circle from the end. And just keep feeding it from further up. And now we'll grab. Let's see if we can get it to focus there. There we go. Kind of see it there. I'll grab that very end piece and roll that around. And I'll grab back a little bit on the wire and push to tuck that under. It takes a little bit, but once you get used to finessing wires around like that, it'll get easier. And we'll just crimp it down and around so it's not sticking out. And we can always use just a little bit of a file at the end to take any sharp edges away. I like to do that when I'm done with a piece. Just a fine file. All right. And we can take the end of our ring clamp, and we can just push that stuff in just a little bit. That looks really good. Very nice little swirls. We'll push the top in just a little bit. And now we can go on to our top. We're going to set the little piece of pyrite into the top here. We will evenly kind of disperse these wires outward from where they're at so we're not crossing over. Kind of just make a little cage for this guy now. So we want to evenly kind of disperse them around. We're going to use this little chunk of pyrite. Set that baby in the middle. And we can use our small square end or the bigger ended square end. We'll kind of bend right about where we think it'll meet and make just a little teeny bend in it, you can see there. And we'll do that with each of these wires. We basically want them to meet into the middle here. All right, we've got a nice little cage there. They all meet together in the middle, and we will tie them in now, just like we did on the bottom here. So we'll need another chunk of 20 gauge square, usually about 6 inches, 5 or 6 inches will suffice. We'll tuck it into the ones with our hand here, just a couple inches to make it easier. We'll bend a 90 degree, and then we'll wrap around. Once, twice, we'll do 5 times around again. And we just want to end with the wires facing backwards. We'll slide it on down. Like so. And we'll use our nylon pliers. We'll slide it down a little bit, right up to the stone. All right, so we'll bend it past, and then we'll bend it back up to cut it. And we'll cut towards the center here. And go ahead and push that down. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. We want it to face backwards. We go just past and lift it up, and then we'll cut it. Alright, so we'll straighten it out just a little bit. We'll straighten out that bottom one as well. And wedge it down. Alright, we're getting close. And this bottom part here is wedged out a little bit. We can take our nylon pliers and just squeeze that in a little bit. Like so. Tightened it up. Okay, so now we want to make a bail here. We're going to use 2 of them to go forward and 2 of them to go up and 2 in the back to go up. So we want to grab the very center 2 and pull them forward, and then the next 2 to the sides of that we're going to do some swirls with. So we're going to have to cut those off. We want these roughly about 1 inch here is what we're going to want. The side swirls we're going to make. So we'll cut those off. And we will use the small square-ended pliers or the needle nose to get this started. And we will go from the center and we will bend out. The key with these is starting with the smallest piece possible and then bending it into itself. And I think we're going to cut just a teeny bit of that off. So we'll cut just a little bit of that off, and we'll do the same on the other side so we can get it really fine-tuned together. we'll just start to bend around. From the side, we'll grab it and bend towards it. And then we'll squeeze it to itself here. Snug that up into there. And the tighter you get them started, the tighter the spiral will be, and it'll have a little bit better look to it. And I can just push that straight down with the pliers. That looks good. Okay, we'll do the same to the other side. I'm just going to nip a little bit off. Sometimes I use a needle nose and you don't really have to cut a little bit off, but we're just going to do that since we did that with the other one. It's got a nice little spiral there. We're going to grab it from the side and push it back into itself, and then squeeze it against itself. Just slowly grab it, twist it around, grab it, and I pull the wire around. Just kind of keep working it away from center. Then I can grab the flat side and just push it down in. That's looking really good. Okay, so now we're going to make a bail. So we'll grab the two closest to the back, and we're going to end up cutting one off here. So I think those two will be the best two to the back. And we'll just take this one and we'll bend her down and we'll cut it off. We won't use that one. Like so, and then we'll just push that down into itself. Okay, so now we want to use the barrel-ended pliers. These really do come in handy to have one of these barrel-ended pliers where it's even. So we will take that and we will roll it up like so. And then we'll use a little end for leverage and we'll bend it up. We want basically to make a half circle here. And we'll do that on the back side. And you just want them to meet together nicely. And we'll tie those together now. Okay, so we've got them even, they're not crossed over. We're going to take another 5-inch section, grab about 2 inches of it so we have enough to grab onto. We'll bend a 90 degree, and we'll just roll it around. We're going to do 5 times around again. And we'll just slide it down. And we'll bend it over and then bend it up, and we'll cut halfway to the middle there. Bend it back up. And we'll bend these 4 out evenly from the top. Now we're going to make 4 spirals to make our finished top here. So we're going to want to cut these the same length. And I like the size of the spirals there. We probably want them about the same size. So just going to push that to the side so we can get them even. All right. So we've got those, and we'll just space them out to the front and to the back. So we'll grab with the needle nose just the very end this time. I like to use the small end of the needle nose for doing these. To get them started, it is really nice to use the fine tip needle nose. And we'll just push those together. Got the front down. Now we gotta just do the two in the back. So we'll bend out from the center. Excuse me. And one left to go. All right, so now all we have left is tying in our leaf and then also adding our beads. We'll do our beads next, I think. And we can square those off just a little bit. We'll just even those out. So we're going to use 20 gauge soft wire for our beads. And I think we used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the bigger beads and 2 of the smaller ones. So we'll see how that looks. We'll go ahead and get the beads to do that same kind of setup on this one. End here so they don't slide off. Just a little bend in the end. Oh, it slid right off the end there. All right, we got 2. 3 and 4. Okay, so now we're just going to loop our little end there so they don't come off. We're going to grab a couple of the little ones. Throw that one extra big one back. So we're just going to grab 2 of the small ones here. So that was 3 millimeter, and these are 2 millimeter beads. And pretty much the biggest wire that the beads will fit on is this 20 gauge. 24 gauge would work fine as well. The soft wire is nice just because it's easier to tuck behind here, but you could use half hard 20 gauge round as well. And there we go. So we will just see how this looks on there. And we'll tuck it into our piece. And we might have to use our little prying tool. And we'll just open stuff up just a little bit in there. That way it'll weave through even just a little easier. You can see I opened it up through there. All right. And we need one more of the little beads. Looks like one slid off on us there. Okay, so we'll tie the back in first. We're going to come down and through. Like I said, the softer wire is just a little bit easier to weave, so that will be really easy here. And we don't need all of this excess, so we'll cut some off now. And we can use our needle nose to push it through. I'll take just a little more off. And we're just going to go through the little gap there. And that looks really good. So we'll tie that into the back. We'll lift up this other side so we can get it underneath there. And we'll cut that off. those. And we've got 3 times, so we'll end it so it gets tucked underneath. And there we go. And we'll push them together a little bit. And there we've got our beads in there. Now all we have left is to twist our little leaf. So we've got a little soldered leaf on here. We're going to want to give it some swirls, so we're going to bend on the top, I think, first. Tuck it in through the back. We're going to use our tool again to lift up just a little bit in between there, make it easier. And before we do that, let's see. I think we're just going to do a swirl on the top. Maybe we'll do a little swirl on the bottom. No, I think we'll just tuck it underneath. Yeah, we'll do something like this, basically. So we'll put that top one through and tie that in, and then we'll do the bottom one. So we can cut it off again. We want about enough to go around 3 times, 2 to 3 times. Even once we'll hold it, but ideally I try to do it at least 2 or 3 times if we can. So we'll pull it out just a little bit to get it started underneath. And we'll roll that baby around. We'll cut off a little bit of the excess. We're definitely not going to need quite that much. Okay, we've got the top tied in. Now we just have to tie the bottom of the leaf in. We'll kind of push it where we want it to be. we can adjust our wires on the top here just a little bit. And there we have it. I'll probably oxidize this one with some liver of sulfur. And there's how we do a little two-stone wire wrap. Hope you enjoyed what you saw. I'll be doing more demonstrational videos in the future. Just going to do a little fine-tuning, bending these out, kind of matching that curve a little bit. We'll bend these back down and out a little bit. Now we could even put a prong stone in the middle here if we wanted, or put a little stone in the bottom here, but I think I'm going to leave it just as is. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.